Okay, welcome to book group, June 27th. We have read The Wide Sea, Imperial Ambition, First Contact, and Final Voyage of Captain Cook. This is a choice by Russ Bailey.
Who's not here?
Who's not here. So for his sake, we will let him know what we have to say about this book. Yeah, we will miss him.
Yeah, so I think I will have extra thoughts about it.
I read this. It was a big book, and I found it a great page turner. Not the sort of thing I normally pick up, and it was fun and interesting.
I agree.
Okay, well, we're on.
Now.
Okay, now we'll do book choices.
Okay.
Well, no, I do have a question. I was just amazed at these two boats and how they would they'd be on in the water for months and months, and they'd have leaks, and they'd have problems, and they'd have bugs, and they'd have rats, and then they would pull into a port and pull out another boat. Champagne, wine, banners, armor, ammunition, gun. Where and then they would tell him with all those
Don't forget the
animals.
animals.
Oh my God!
Animals.
The animals. How did they get them?
King George filled them with animals.
How do you travel with animals and everything else that they travel?
It must have been one stinky boat for that long.
They were originally transport boats. They were coal ships.
Right.
You know, they were.
Flat
These are ships built to take coal from the north of England to London.
Yeah.
So they were, they could carry very large volume. You know how to take a small amount of coal.
Yeah.
So they're really huge storage areas.
Amazing. Amazing.
So I also thought, I didn't appreciate, and glad it was book. They basically rebuilt the boats multiple times. There was how they had Saturday.
They had
So you had
all
to
the
break
wherewithal to rebuild
what
their
you
boats.
needed,
Isn't that
to redo the rigging, to put up another mast,
Yeah.
to patch up all the holes in the bottom.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
In addition to the sailors, right?
Yeah.
And the naturalists and the doctors and
Iron workers and.
they kept giving up the iron way. It was right. Yes. Right.
They didn't give it away, they would steam it, they would go pull the nails out of the boats.
But I agree with your question, because I'll never forget going to Jamestown, seeing a replica of the ship and thinking, that's it. Right, small. That whole thing went across the ocean. And
Yeah, we've seen.
for the voyage that they did, and then just.
Golden
But
Line.
that's not golden. Those were much bigger than the Youngstown boats.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
Couple of years, yeah.
Almost 200 years later.
They had in my hometown, we had a replica of the Endeavour, the first,
Huh.
the boat from the first voyage. It was moored in the Tees for quite a while. And it looked pretty small compared with modern boats, but you could see how it could carry a lot, I think. So.
Carry a lot of gonorrhea too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the rigors of the voyage, which is amazing. I mean, I mean, just the one description I still get creeps when I think about it is, but at one point they had cockroaches that just covered every surface, and they had to sort of basically empty out that whole plate.
They had what?
Cockroaches. Yeah.
That puts all your food.
Yeah.
So how many people were on each ship?
Like 100? Like
180. 180.
Yeah.
Each ship, about 200 or
Yeah.
slightly less.
It was a large number.
I mean, I really like the book. I mean, I sort of learned a lot because, I mean, they were saying that Cook was interested in, what do you call it, the anthropology, I guess you'd call it now,
Yes.
different. And therefore, the author of this book was talking about, it wasn't just about Cook, he was talking about the different islands that they came from. And one thing that really struck me is how many of these civilizations had got there by boat
Right.
and traveled long, long distances, and then essentially forgotten about how to do it.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, starting with the Aborigines in Australia, they got there somehow, you know, because, you know, they know that they came from,
Right, the boat in Tasmania.
and then the same, you know, the Polynesians who got to Hawaii lost contact with the rest of the Polynesian islands, you know.
That's a new pattern,
Yeah.
yes. Mhm.
And the Maori the same, you know, they got there and they thought, hey, this is paradise. We
One
don't
thing
need
I
to go back."
didn't realize is how recently the Maori had gotten there, because they had only been in New Zealand just a couple hundred years by the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Whereas I get the sense that the Polynesians and the other islands have been there a lot longer.
It was interesting that Cook took a very objective view of the cultures he ran into. He didn't have the idea of superiority of his culture. He was just interested in what they were doing. He wanted to find out more about their ceremonies. He was willing to participate in some of the ceremonies to find out what they were about. And he undoubtedly felt that European technology was superior. It was, but he didn't try and convert the natives. So I thought that he was rather ahead of his time in that sense.
Say like that, right? And then he sort of turned into this semi-monster, right? At the end.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And we followed the Mississippi, right?
Well, they were stealing, essential equipment, and he, you could say he overreacted, but he wanted his ore boat back.
And that was the exploratory boat that was critical to his mission.
Right.
So what I was confused about with that boat, we had the two boats, right? And we hear all about how they keep, like trying to make sure they're near each other
Uh-huh.
when there's storms and everything else. They can't smash into each other and break apart. They also can't get so far apart that one doesn't know where the other one is. So that all by itself, it's traveling the two boats. I thought, where's this third boat? You know what I mean? Is it being
Because it's two ships. And
I think they raised up,
The boats
They
can be
raised up.
lowered off the side of the ships.
they pulled
So
out
it got put on one of the boats.
on one of the
Boat
boats.
number 3 is in.
Boat number 3 is
transit
part
on
of
top of
one.
No boat, just boats.
Yes,
Just
yeah,
call it
that's
ships.
sort of what I thought, but I thought.
It's a smaller
I
one.
was confused.
We have two smaller ones. They had a big small one and a small one. And the big small one was the
More
one
than
that Cook went out in, and then the small one, other people went out. When they were when they went to the inlets and they couldn't go any
Right.
further in the big boat,
Right.
they launched the large small boat. And, Bly or somebody would take it, go up the inlet in the small boat. And then come back to the large one.
Which is
And
why,
that's the one that was stolen, I think.
Right.
that's why they really wanted it back.
Were all of the,
Right.
I mean, were any of those boats sailing boats?
yes.
So my sense was that
Yeah.
the two ships are sailing ships, but the boats are all oared.
I think you could put a mast up.
Although they called one of them a cutter.
Yes.
Yeah. Cutter had
It
it.
sounded like.
Bly,
Yeah, Bly, yeah.
Bly in the Men
Yes.
Against the Sea, Bly, there was thousands of lives.
Yeah.
That's right.
In the large, small one.
So the cutter,
With the sail.
cutter has a sail?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering the same
But
thing. How does the cutter?
So do they, yeah, so
They just put a mast up and then try and get a sail on the back.
And as Jim said, that's the one that after the mutiny on the Bounty, that,
Yeah.
they kicked.
that's
Captain
Bly,
And they took a loyal crewman into that boat and they sailed essentially across the entire Pacific and.
Which is just mind boggling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he was a good sailor.
So getting back to Cook's sort of deterioration of his psychology and whether he was overreacting to lots of things. It wasn't just to the native behavior. He was overreacting to his own men who he thought were so it didn't really, I think, show that his views of natives were changing. I mean, even up in Hawaii on the Big Island. He, participated in a ceremony there and tried to learn about it. It's just that, having his essential boat stolen was, a terrible thing, and he would have overreacted how whoever had done it. But he did seem to have this idea that the way to deal with native people if they were hostile was to try and overawe them with his ability to be cool in a crisis. And so, his inexplicable behavior there on the reef when the natives were starting to throw stones, he didn't retreat. He apparently thought he could put them in their place as he had done many times before. It's just an oddity of the way he thought that the best way to deal with them was just to remain firm, but not take evasive action.
The tenor of their relationship had shifted though. I mean, the first time in, they were very friendly, but this was the second time over.
Right.
And they were not well received.
Yeah.
There was some kind of, balking from the native population. They would give them food, but it was not as smooth as before.
They definitely say they're welcome.
Yeah, and then also there was like a different, person, that they were not a god or something,
Yeah.
but and so they're like, hey, your turn is over. What are you doing here now back,
Plus, they were used to them. I mean, awe-inspiring comes from something that's new, but if you've been awe-inspiring them for 3 months, right, it kind of goes away.
Right.
You're unable to pull that off as easily.
Yeah, just think if they hadn't been pushed back by that storm.
When they tried to leave,
Right,
right?
they wouldn't have, they wouldn't have.
That's right. They wouldn't have had to go back.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mhm. Yeah, he was unlucky there, but he had been lucky so many times before that things had worked out that, eventually the odds were going to turn against him, and
I
they did
can't
there.
believe that the crew went up and explored Alaska, up by the Bering Sea.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't just quit and go home.
Yeah, why didn't they just?
Following orders. I mean,
Well, they were gonna get the 20,000 pound reward,
Well,
right?
that's
That was the
true.
motivator.
Yeah.
They found the Northwest Passage, they were motivated.
yeah.
Right, which is why when they went back, they were thinking, well, let's at least get the otters if we're not gonna get them.
Right.
Yeah, let's get the otter. The soft gold, I call it.
Yeah.
That was from Alaska?
Yes.
Yes, it was the seal skin.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they figured they could at least make a profit on that because the prize money was not.
And they did it, when they went to, was it?
The first time, but they didn't go back and decide and get a whole bunch. Decided to take it home with them, yeah.
So the book was written and researched all of through the letters of the sailors and through Cook's log, I take it, right? I mean, because
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of sources were original,
Mhm.
from people on the
Mhm.
ship.
Right.
And then he tried to bring up as much as he could about the native population, the islands they were
Right.
visiting,
Yeah.
from other sources, because those, there weren't as many different sources for those folks. I mean, I thought I was telling someone, like every 5 years, he writes this great big huge book. I was looking at about Hampton Sides, I never heard of him before. And I thought, who is this guy? And he's written all kinds of different books. So I
Hampton Sides?
yeah, the author of the book.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought this could be like the culmination of her life's work, right? All of the different
But
sources
he
he
says
looked at.
books vary quite a
everything.
bit. They're not all seafaring books. They're on various different.
Yes,
topics.
exactly. That's why I just thought,
So
he
he's
wrote
got,
this book over
he's got
20
a
years.
crew. Right, he's got a crew of people who are,
Who work with him.
let's say, researchers.
It's clear to me how many people were working with him. I mean, in the acknowledgements at the end, he acknowledges many people. Yeah, I was like, maybe Beth, you know more about that than I do. That
No, I don't. I'm taking Jim's word for it.
What's that?
You're the one that told me about his crew, how he had a crew of people working for him.
No, not.
That's it.
I told you that before.
I mean,
So they were in the free boy. He says that he went to a number of these places to do research for this, and he took one of his boys with him. I just thought, what a natural thing to do with a parent, right?
But
You're
it took him
working on
many
it.
years to write this book.
Well, if you look at the publication rights, we got like another book every 5 years.
5 years, that's how long. it's
Yeah.
been.
But I thought this book could be like the culmination of your life's work, right? Having read all these different courses, going to talk to all these different people. You know, he interviews many folks.
He does seem to have moved around, he does seem to have gone to all these places.
Yeah.
And I mean, people have written about this for a while.
Exactly.
And so what he brings to this that I thought was really new was the First Nations sort of sources.
Oh,
You know, which is this, you know, because I think the classic sort of
the map
18th century view
started
of how to tell this story, because it was very popular at the time. People were willing to pay real money for this when the sailors came back. But the 18th century view of it was, these are primitives, how could they possibly have any reaction that we would care about, you know, and so you would tell the story from the diaries of the folks who ostensibly were on the scene. And so what's added in this, besides really good writing, is his willingness to go and look at other sources, First Nation sources. There was oral history and things like that.
But they're, the recording isn't gonna be able to pick up all this, so.
Yeah, so if somebody else was doing those oral histories, he didn't do the oral histories.
Yeah, but I don't know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think.
We're interested in the Hawaii Islands, Okay. Look at the map.
I've never been to Hawaii.
Me neither.
I mean, no,
Why, oh, sorry.
the furthest place from any place.
It is very far, yeah.
It is.
I mean, I grew up in California.
Hawaii is
Never went to
furthest
it.
from any place in the world than any other place
It
is.
was funny how they just seem to sort of accidentally pop up.
Exactly.
You know, hey, talk about good luck.
Yeah.
They had an act for that, though.
Yes.
Polynesians had similar good luck 1,000 years before or whatever.
Right, whatever kind of thing, whatever. What is this?
Oh, no. So the-
Yeah.
So, with regard to Lisa's point, I thought his handling of the stories from First Nations people, that he handled that in a very balanced way. He cites an earlier book called The Apotheosis of James Cook or something like that, which argues that apparently that no, the people of Hawaii did not think Cook was Lono. They were smart. They thought it was kind of part of it. He was sort of acting. But you know, from all of the log accounts and the accounts of the sailors, it certainly seemed there was an awful lot of evidence that the natives did think, or at least most of the natives thought he was Lono. And you know, they were after he, you know, when he was killed, some were still asking, you know, when is Lono coming back? So you know, it's a tricky question to deal with because the stories that have been handed down orally, you know, you can't really check those out using usual historic methods. But you know, I thought he gave them appropriate credit because I'm sure, reflect something about the reality of what had happened 250 years ago. So that was an interesting part of the book, the way he handled those stories.
Well, right, because I think the argument was to think that the natives actually felt that this was a god is condescending and racist and makes them into ignorant savages.
Mhm.
That was what the Apotheosis was, I think, his argument.
Yeah, from his summary of that. Yeah, that's what it's.
Then you had Mai, who they took. He went to London, the noble sounded, right?
Bye.
Okay.
The whole idea of the 4-month period, that there was this calendar where for 4 months
Right.
there was peace, and then they resumed war in the 4 months. So the 4 month of Lomo, and then the 8 months of the king. That was, you know, put forward as an explanation for why the behavior was what it was and why it changed.
Mhm.
Does that seem credible?
Well, he, you know, they made a big deal about coming in clockwise.
I mean,
and coming like
the idea of having a society that sort of acts one way for 8 months and then acts a different way for 4 months. It's not inconceivable,
Lent,
but
Big festival.
We do have the seasons, like Christmas season, Easter season, whatever, those are the Christian
Yeah.
ones, but
that's what I'm saying.
Ramadan.
It does lend itself.
But I think it was just, the reception that he got when he returned is that Jim was talking about. It was a whole group of factors. And part of it was, the 4 month period was up and what's Lono doing coming back? It's out of sync. But there's also the Cook expedition had been using up their resources like crazy. And basically feeding off them. They were tired of all this stuff. So yeah, it was just a whole bunch of things that made them much. In fact, it was surprising that they got as friendly a reception as they did after they came back, but it was not certainly as friendly as the first time, and it did lead to a violent episode.
Wonder how well they were able to communicate by that time. How much of the languages
Well, they spoke
they learned by
Tahiti,
that.
they spoke Pidgin Tahiti, and I think Hawaiian languages somehow connected, although not Tahiti. They became good at Tahiti, but.
definitely.
What were you gonna say about my certain?
Well, the quality of racism to this noble savage being brought to London, and he's gonna bring back to Hawaii, these, the British garden.
Yeah, so that they can guard it in a civilized stuff.
Right.
The whole story about Mai was fascinating. I thought that was an interesting part of the book. The reception that he got in England, and if the King George was so interested and wanted him to take back these animals to start farms in the Tahiti area. It was just such an interesting reflection on the two cultures coming into contact.
And then what in turn, Mai brought back with him on the boat.
Yes.
Everything from a
Armor.
a farmer, a jack in the box, a globe. I mean, it was just, the King James Bible. It was fascinating.
Mhm.
But it's the story of how much of a misfit he became.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a very sad figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't go home again. I mean, he then gets an aid and that person then gets an aid and it's like the retinue.
Yes.
And it's simulated.
But he didn't, in the end, he didn't fit in anyway,
No,
because he wasn't of a high enough status.
No, still had low birth,
From,
right?
the Tahiti area.
Has anyone seen Disclosure Day?
No.
No, because it's the new Spielberg movie, and it's essentially about aliens coming to Earth and how their reception. And it really has very similar things to what you see here with Captain Cook, because one of the questions they bring up in the movie is, are these extraterrestrial beings, are they gods? Do we treat them like religion? Do we, what is their reception? Do we react in fear? Do we react in awe? And then just the whole business about how do they fit in? How do those people who've sort of crossed into the extrasensory, the ET zone, how do they're sort of neither, they're not natives of this culture or that culture. They're sort of neither. And that's exactly what Mai was in many ways. He was something else, and he never did fit in. But the movie is just it was. Do you think you read this book or read books about this process before writing the screenplay? Well, I think the cross-cultural issues were certainly part of the movie. Yes.
It's funny you say that, because when I read, our book, I was thinking of Close Encounters of the Third Time, and when Richard Dreyfuss gets on the spaceship.
Yes.
He's fine,
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. That's what the movie is about as well.
So you remember News of the World?
News of the World, yes.
News of the World?
Yes.
So the settler child is kidnapped by Native
Right.
Americans.
Yeah,
She's then brought back
yeah.
and then,
Right.
you know, our, whatever it is, I don't know what, anyway.
Tom
Yeah, I
Hanks.
read the newspaper.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, and it's gonna take her to her family and it's like she doesn't fit in anywhere,
Right.
right? She's been ripped out of two
It
different.
fits with him.
Yeah.
She's a transient. She's a good transient.
Yeah. And the person who wrote that with News of the World, she had read stories about this same kind of thing that happened to other kids. So it's same concept,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Taken from your environment, placed in a different land, and then you don't belong.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's,
That's kind of a typical England story though.
yeah.
You can work in both. Yeah, I have a little bit of that, and then I can take it in Uruguay for a little while until I say, well, where do you really live?
Are you?
And I can't take it here because my accent gives me away. Where are you from?
And you said you were going, they're like, huh?
Right.
Uruguay was that?
Huh?
But it's a little bit like, I don't feel uncomfortable in either society. But he did.
Okay, so I'm gonna change the subject from immigrants to kind of colonialism. Because this idea, it's a marvelous and wondrous idea that there are people who are willing to say, I have no idea what's on the other side of that mountain, that valley, whatever. I'm going. And that's fine. But then how do you deal with what you're bringing, even if you're trying even if you're trying to just observe, which at least in principle Cook was trying to do with the people. But he was the only one on the ship, it sounds like, with the exception of maybe a naturalist who had that idea, certainly.
Artist.
And the artist, I mean, but basically everyone else has their own ideas for why you would want to go someplace where you aren't currently. And you want to exploit it, you want to capture it, you want to be able to claim it, and how do we, what does that mean as we're trying to explore Mars or trying to move forward and even just have meaningful cross-cultural conversation? If every time you have two societies talk to each other, everyone has their own reasons for wanting to engage and they don't really connect. I mean,
But you can go to learn. I mean, Cook really he was at most at his ease when he was being the anthropologist, according to the book. He was most at ease when he was out there interacting personally with people on the island.
But he knew that he put these islands on the map.
But yes, as soon as he put latitude and longitude on it, the rest of the world.
Show up.
To back up and, this whole idea, is colonialism bad or good or, this is the 18th century. They didn't have that debate going on. It was
Forgiven.
It was just much more,
They were aware of the disease effort, the disease impact.
but I would think that, yeah, they're responding more individually to this problem we have to be careful about, or this problem we have to be careful about, but the sort of the general enterprise. They don't have this big, heavy philosophical thing.
No one questioned the assumption.
Sitting over on top of them.
no, they were right. I mean, the image that sticks in my mind is they end up in that island, which I guess becomes Tasmania, and they've worked out some kind of amicable exchange, and they've managed to fix their boats, and they offer a pig and a boar, that because they can't figure out what else to offer the people as they're heading off, and there are no pigs and there are no boars on this island, and the people don't want them. And the parting thought is, well, we'll just give it to them anyway because they need this in order to be civilized, to have large.
Some of that.
Yeah, and there were other examples of that too, where it's kind of they didn't think about it, but the notion of what was good and appropriate, what constituted real society,
Western Europe.
But he did, he did claim, everywhere he landed, he claimed it for the George III of the British Empire.
Right, right. The bottle of
And there was this ceremony where they drink something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was under orders to do that.
That's who paid the
Yeah,
salary.
individually, he was interested, he was curious, wanted to find out about new places, but he was a naval officer, he had his orders.
And also there's
I
these
can't
phrases
believe-
like cultural sensitivity that wasn't a thing. I mean,
Well, but
those
the
are-
view was culturally sensitive.
I mean, I think individually it could be a thing, but I think generally in the world, when explorers went out, they weren't thinking, we might find some cultures that we need to make sure to preserve because they may have been there for. That wasn't a thought. It wasn't a thought.
We need to save their souls,
I think
right?
we-
They're converting them
Right.
to Christianity.
Yeah, possibly
Yeah,
that.
you have to look at what the author is putting on. So the whole story of Cook getting more reserved. Pretty sure that's to me, it sounded like something the author was doing in order to give more of a narrative flow to this thing. And maybe there is something to it, but it seemed like a lot of what there was to it was that. And that may be also a little bit of the sort of painting of Cook as more of an anthropologist. That also sounds like he wants Cook to be more accepted by the current readers. So, you can never tell. And I do think that as we're reading the book, we're getting fed a position on these things.
But there are the logs. I mean, 3 years after the group gets back to England, they publish Cook's logs
Right.
in 3 big volumes,
Right.
and they're sold out immediately. That is the written word. This is what Cook wrote
Well, that
down.
speaks to
So you can check.
curiosity.
It speaks to his curiosity.
Well, not his, but everybody.
The society.
No, but your argument can be, conferred by looking exactly at what he wrote, how he wrote it and what he was trying to do. And I think that's what the book was trying to do.
But it is a bit of a resuscitation exercise, because at the beginning they'll say, books.
Everyone hates him now.
Yeah, he's now, he's not regarded very well, his star was fallen, blah, blah, blah. And so there is an element of that, that I think the author's deliberately trying to do that. But the other element in this, colonial impulse or whatever it is, and a big part of it is they wanted to get there before the French.
Right.
Yes. I mean, it wasn't like, shall we do this or not?
Yeah.
It was going to happen anyway,
French, Spanish,
Spanish,
Dutch,
Russians.
and Russian.
I mean, it's a continuous theme of history over the millennia is people don't challenge their basic assumptions, right? It can be explorers in this era. It can be the US. No one saying, gosh, why the hell are we fighting in Vietnam in 1962? What do we think? No one challenges assumptions. No one challenges assumptions throughout history. It's just a constant theme of history, no matter what millennia you're in or century. And this just proves it. I mean, you didn't challenge it.
Yeah.
You're there to
The
beat the
World
French.
View was about the rivalry among the European
Right.
powers and all these other people over there.
They're not immortal. They're pawns in the chess game.
Although it is kind of amazing that this whole thing is taking place when we're engaged in what's really, I guess we've seen elsewhere, it's been called the First World War, which is really, we have this little tiny piece of it, which was our revolution, but our revolution was part of this much larger European engagement. And it's kind of bizarre that King George in the middle of this would say, I think it's a great idea. Let's get 2 more ships and why don't
Put
you
some
go out?
boats on there.
Yeah. Yeah, and your wife, she can handle it. She'll just have it.
But the warships are supposed, they are challenged to find the Northeast Passage.
Right, Northwest Passage.
I mean, there's huge economic benefit.
Oh, going
Not the
east.
Northeast.
Yeah.
You're starting in the west and you're going east.
Yeah.
So that was their
Yep.
challenge. That was,
Right.
that's what the Admiralty wanted them to do
Yes.
for commercial
Military
and military. reasons.
Colonialism 101.
Yeah, it wasn't just, oh, let's advance human knowledge.
No,
Right.
no, it was find
That
that
concept
concept.
should warrant, I mean, it warrant widely held or whatever you would.
Well, I think the biologists, depend the scientists that were along on some of these.
Oh, individually, I think
Yes.
there are plenty of individuals, but I just think in the kind of a more global way, nobody was saying like.
Yeah, we know in St. Louis and Clark to the American West, they collected 10,000 specimens. I mean, it's conquest, exploration, and there's science as well. It's not either or.
It's all together.
Yeah.
Right. But definitely not just for the biology.
Well, thinking about it, space exploration, I mean, why, we have multiple reasons for exploring
Global,
space.
we're on that.
Mine things.
Trump, the Trump Mars.
Yeah.
But much more.
Or Elon Musk getting money, That'll really.
Was
anybody else surprised to learn that messages in bottles actually were a thing, a real thing, and that sometimes they actually work?
I was surprised it worked.
Yeah.
You could put a message in a bottle. That's amazing.
Or the note on the rock saying, look underneath.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe was here.
That was when the two ships got separated on the other.
Yeah.
The other thing to remember, it was only 8 years after this that the first fleet arrived in Australia.
8 years later.
1788,
Well, Cook's voyage to Australia had been what, 3 years before this one? Something like that, 3 to 4, yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I think he was
Wasn't that
back in
long.
England for like 3 years.
Yeah.
In between them,
So,
I think.
so like 5 years period.
So when you said, just replay that for a second. So who went to Australia then?
The first, you see after this unfortunate thing, the Declaration of Independence and all. Had lost a place to send its convicts.
Right.
So they sent the convicts to Australia instead.
Why did they pick Australia?
Because it
Of all the places.
far away.
Far away,
Well, it's gotta be far away, but there's a lot of far away places. Closer.
It's big.
But I mean, like, why-
Well, it was also a settlement thing, it was a combination of the two, but anyway, I think
Nobody
the
worked.
first fleet was 1788.
They had it.
The first time I went to Australia was 1988, and boy, was it a big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
So you remember the dates of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always funny because, ours are DAR and all of this, and it's like, oh, what did your great grandfather?
Oh, they stole some ribbon.
Yeah.
They know nonstop from London to Sydney,
But they,
only 2 hours or something.
as I said, from my parents' garden, they could see the Captain Cook monument.
That monument that was,
It's an obelisk. It's not that different than the one where he died.
in the book, it's been splattered with red.
That's one
It's
in
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
That's why.
And you have
I grew up in Great Hayton.
I see, okay, okay.
It is the Great Hayton, it's a village,
Yeah.
just in North Yorkshire. The schoolhouse, that where he was taught, some Australian businessman bought it and moved it long top, just like, some American bought
Yeah,
London Bridge and moved it.
Right,
So they bought the house and it's now in Melbourne.
That's
It's in Melbourne. And in its place, there's a small monument, to Cook. And it's made from the stone that was quarried from the first place that the Cook hit Australia.
Somewhere in.
Here's the Hawaii.
Right. Yeah, that's the one in Hawaii, yeah.
This is the Hawaii one.
That's the one, that's my year.
That's right, that's the Great Hayton one, yes.
Yeah, pictures of that, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the
No,
Hawaii.
that's Hawaii, yeah.
So Mary, having grown up in Oregon, are there any mementos or monuments? Or is there any recognition of Cook as an explorer in Oregon?
I don't have a really good memory for that. There probably is. if it is, it might be near Astoria. Because a lot of the, Lewis and Clark ended up there. A lot of the early explorers went to that mouth of the Columbia River. But other than that, I'm not aware of it. So
Yeah, I don't
it's a good
remember it.
question. There's no like huge monument to Cook that I remember.
There is.
Yeah, because he missed the
They
mouth
kept
of the
missing
Columbia.
everything, yeah.
He didn't, he went to Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
Landed on Vancouver Island.
Yeah, he kept missing all these inlets of the Columbia River, yeah.
Well, Vancouver was on his ship, so Vancouver went back.
That's right, that's right.
Just explored Vancouver Island.
Keep forgetting Vancouver
That
was
was
good.
fun to see where there's some of
Yeah.
that place names come from. Even things like the Stellar J. Oh, okay, we now know.
What?
The Stellar J, it's a
Bird.
bird, them.
Yeah.
They've
got
stellar,
stellars.
yeah. And he was the member of the crew. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I'm very
thank you,
glad,
Russ.
I'm very glad we read this book. I thought it was brilliant.
I thought it was very interesting.
Thank you, Russ.
I thought,
More engaging than I expected.
Right.
Yeah, because you think, sometimes that kind of material can be kind of dry and academic, but this wasn't, this moved along,
I thought this author
it
was.
flowed
Well,
quite
I think-
quickly. Yeah.
He foresees the death. He foresees the
Yes.
murder.
Foreshadows.
Doesn't have to be foreshadows it.
Yeah.
So you know it's gonna happen. And so as you approach Hawaii, you get tense. What's happening next?
Yeah.
This page, they arrived, nothing's happened yet, when's it gonna happen?
Yeah.
And so there's this tension that builds around.
Yeah.
I was reading long in bed and it was about 11 and I thought, I don't want to read this part now.
Right now.
So I just stopped and read it in the morning. It was pretty gory. It was pretty gory. It was,
It was incredibly gory, and then all of the, not does he just die, but then everything happens with his body. It's
Yeah.
I was so surprised.
The other tourist recommendation I have is if you're ever in Windsor.
Windsor.
We stayed in Windsor,
Near
just
Windsor
after
Castle,
Windsor
Eton.
Castle, but near Eton.
Eden is a great.
And there's a natural history museum. I don't know whether it's part of Eton.
It's part of the,
College,
no, it's part of the.
But anyway, but it's open to the public only one afternoon a week. It must be
It's a
something,
Sunday from like 2 to 4 or
it
something.
must be something that they have to open to get their carnival status or
Yes,
something.
yes,
But
yes.
anyway, we went and they have in it, they have a mock-up of Joseph Banks' cabin.
Yeah.
from
Oh.
Endeavour.
I took a picture of it.
Really,
With or without the roach, the cockroaches.
You have the picture.
well, there are plenty of cockroaches stuck on cardboard, with a pin through them.
That's the Endeavor, that's the second
So how
one.
big is the
No, the
Endeavor?
first,
The first.
Voyage, yeah.
Okay, so I've been to the Victory. Now, like, how big is the Endeavor compared to
Oh,
the
much
Victory?
smaller.
Which is smaller?
The Endeavour is much smaller than
Oh.
the Victory. The Victory is, over.
Man of war.
6 times as big, you know.
How big was it? I never, the resolution and
What are they thinking,
Have you seen USS Constitution?
yes.
Time.
Go to Baltimore and see the big.
Still so yeah, you think that's about the same size.
That's the size the Endeavor was?
I don't know, but my sense is, at least you get a sense of a big square ring.
Yeah, it was just a big,
Kind of a boxy little thing, yeah.
It looks like a bathtub.
Yeah, yeah. All right, actually,
But the-
if
Sir Joseph Banks' cabin was half the size of this standing room.
like when you see the.
Yeah, but it was the biggest room. in the-
That was probably big.
That was the- on the shape of it, big.
Into it, yeah. This is,
didn't have to share it.
I see it.
You pass it around.
yeah, I'm trying to see if there's a better one. There's just, thanks.
Nancy, you're on.
Oh, so, actually, in theory, one more thing, then in theory, there's, New York is having a parade of the tall ships.
Oh,
As part of the Fourth of July. So I guess it's in around the fourth, but if we wanted to see the boats in the parade, if they start telecast that might be a way to see. Oh, that's a big ship, right? I mean, I doubt they're gonna. Yes.
A pinnace, that was a new one.
It's, yeah.
P-I-N-N-A-C-E. Oh, how original. You bring your books and a bag of books.
I do.